Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you something real right now. Respect, it's not bought, it's not begged for, and it sure as hell ain't demanded. Respect is earned. And the way a woman carries herself, that's the blueprint. Ladies and gentlemen, let me break this down for you. When a woman knows her worth, truly knows it, not just talks about it, not just posts quotes on social media, but lives it deep down in her bones, something powerful happens. She stops chasing people. She stops proving herself to anyone. She walks into a room like she belongs there because she understands something most people don't. Her value isn't up for debate. Let me tell you something, fellas, see that. A woman who knows what she brings to the table ain't out here begging for a seat. She is the table. She knows what kind of love she deserves, what kind of effort she requires, and what kind of energy she refuses to tolerate. And the beautiful thing about that, she don't have to say a word. You can see it in how she moves, in how she talks, in how she carries herself. See, a woman who doesn't chase, she attracts. Because when you're standing in your truth, when you're walking in your purpose, and you're not bending over backward to be liked or approved of, you glow different. You become magnetic. A man respects that, whether he says it out loud or not. There's something about a woman who doesn't need validation from anyone, who is whole all by herself. That makes a man want to rise to meet her. She becomes the kind of woman that man doesn't want to play with because he knows she ain't afraid to walk. Now, I ain't talking about arrogance. I'm not talking about being cold or dismissive. I'm talking about a quiet confidence that says, I know what I'm worth and I won't settle for less. That kind of energy is rare. It's powerful. And let me tell you, when a woman like that walks away from someone who ain't treating her right, she doesn't just leave silently, she leaves impact. That absence, it echoes. You ever seen a man lose a woman like that? He don't forget it because she didn't scream, she didn't beg, she didn't plead, she just left. And that's when the respect hits him. That's when he starts thinking about all the ways he could have stepped up, all the ways he fell short, all the chances he wasted. And now it's too late because she's not looking back. That's the power of a woman who knows her worth. See, the woman who chases ends up drained. She's giving, calling, texting, checking in, wondering why he ain't giving her the same energy. But the woman who attracts, she sits back, she focuses on herself, she invests in her mind, her body, her peace, her goals, and the right man, he notices, he steps forward because he sees this woman is different. She don't need him, but she could choose him. And that right there, that's the game changer. You know why this multiplies the respect a man has for a woman? Because it makes him work. It makes him earn a place in her world. And men don't value what comes easy. They value what requires them to level up. When a woman holds herself to a high standard, she inspires him to meet her there. Not because she told him to, but because she showed him what it looks like. So to all the women listening, understand this. You don't have to run after love. You don't have to beg for attention. You don't have to prove you're enough. You already are. The right one will see it, feel it, and honor it. But only if you see it first. Stop chasing, start standing. Let them come to you, and when they do, let them earn you. Ladies and gentlemen, I want you to hear me clearly on this. There's a huge difference between putting up walls and having standards. See, walls are built from fear. They shut people out. They push good folks away and they keep you locked in. But boundaries are built from love. Not just love for others, but love for yourself. And that's the key most people miss. When a woman has boundaries, she's not being rude. She's being clear. She's not trying to control anybody. She's just defining what she will and won't accept in her life. And you know what that does? That earns her respect, especially from a man. Because a man may not always like those boundaries at first, but deep down he recognizes them as strength. And trust me, men respect strength, quiet, graceful strength, even more so. I've seen women who let everything slide. They keep giving chance after chance. They tolerate things that go against their peace, their values, even their own self-respect. And they do it all in the name of love. But that's not love. That's fear. That's the fear of being alone, the fear of losing someone, the fear of not being enough. But ladies, let me tell you something loud and clear. Real love does not cross boundaries. It honors them. A woman who sets boundaries doesn't yell. She doesn't need to throw a fit. She just draws the line and stands by it. That kind of woman, she teaches people how to treat her, not by preaching, not by begging, but by acting. She walks away when her peace is disturbed. She steps back when she feels disrespected. And she doesn't go back on her word just because she misses someone. That's not cold, that's wisdom. See, boundaries don't push the right man away, they filter out the wrong ones. A man who has no intention of respecting you will fall off the moment you say no or not this time. And let me tell you, that's a blessing. Because a man who's worthy of you, he won't just respect your boundaries. He'll be attracted to them because they show him that you respect yourself. And nothing is more powerful than a woman who honors herself. There's something incredibly attractive about a woman who knows where she stands. She's not trying to please everybody. She's not compromising her values just to keep a man. She's saying, this is me, this is what I need, and if you can't meet that, I'm still good. That confidence, that certainty, that's what makes a man pause and say, hold up, this woman ain't like the rest, and now you've got his attention, not because you chased him, but because you challenged him in the most respectful way. Ladies and gentlemen, boundaries don't just build respect, they build identity. Every time you stick to your boundaries, you remind yourself who you are. You protect your energy, your heart, your future. And here's what a lot of people don't understand. Boundaries aren't about keeping others out. They're about keeping you in alignment with your truth. When a woman doesn't have boundaries, she becomes a doormat. People come and go, treat her how they want, and she just keeps forgiving, excusing, explaining. But when she decides, I'm done with that, and she raises her standards, that's when everything starts to change. That's when men stop seeing her as an option and start seeing her as the standard. A man may test you. He may see how far he can go. But a woman with boundaries, she doesn't flinch. She doesn't entertain games. She doesn't stick around hoping he'll change. She says, you either meet me where I'm at or keep moving. And when she says it with grace, without bitterness, without hate, that's the moment his respect for her multiplies. So ladies, don't be afraid to draw the line. Don't be afraid to say, that doesn't work for me. Your boundaries are not walls. They are your declaration to the world that you know your worth. And when you live by that, that's when a man doesn't just look at you, he looks up to you. Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you something about pressure. Pressure reveals character. Pressure is where you see what people are really made of. Anybody can be kind when things are easy. Anybody can smile when life is good, bills are paid, and love feels right. But when things get tight, when life throws its punches, that's when a woman's true strength shows. And let me tell you, a woman who holds herself with grace under pressure, she earns a kind of admiration that words can't even fully explain. You see, when a man watches a woman go through stress, whether it's work pressure, family issues, relationship storms, or even personal battles, and she doesn't lose herself in the chaos, oh, he takes notice. I'm not saying she don't cry. I'm not saying she don't feel it. What I'm saying is she handles it. She doesn't lash out. She doesn't blame the world. She breathes, she prays, she regroups, and she keeps moving forward with dignity. And that's rare. That's powerful. There's something unforgettable about a woman who stays calm when everything around her is screaming for her to react. A woman who doesn't let her emotions take over. She may feel broken on the inside, but she doesn't break others to deal with it. That kind of emotional strength, it hits different. It makes a man respect her on a whole new level because he knows it takes real control to act with grace when you have every reason not to. Let me paint a picture for you. A man messes up. Maybe he says something wrong. Maybe he slips. Maybe he forgets something important. He expects fireworks, a full-blown argument, screaming and shouting. But instead, she looks at him, maybe disappointed, maybe hurt, but she speaks from a place of calm. She tells him how she feels clearly. She tells him what she needs. And then she lets it be known this is her stand. That right there, that's a woman who doesn't need to raise her voice to be heard. And a man won't forget that. He might walk away in a moment, but it'll sit with him because it wasn't loud, but it was real. See, grace doesn't mean weakness. It doesn't mean letting people walk all over you. No, ma'am. Grace is strength dressed up in peace. Grace says, I could match your energy, but I choose to protect mine. Grace says, I'm in control of me, even when the world around me isn't. And that level of control, that earns deep respect. A man starts looking at you differently when he sees you handle pressure like a queen. Not because you pretend to be fine, but because you choose not to fall apart in public just to prove a point. Because you carry yourself with poise, not pettiness. Because you understand that how you respond matters more than how you react. That's grown woman energy. And real men, they respect that deeply. Ladies and gentlemen, you don't have to be perfect. You don't have to have it all figured out. But if you can hold yourself with grace when the pressure is on, whether it's in your relationship, your home, your career, that's when you shine the brightest. That's when your light hits different. And a man sees that. He may not say it in the moment, but deep down, he's impressed. Not just by how you look, not just by what you say, but by how you carry yourself when it matters most. So don't ever underestimate the power of grace. It's not about being silent. It's about being intentional. It's about choosing to respond with strength, calm, and clarity. And when you do that, especially under pressure, you earn not just respect, but lasting admiration in a man's heart. Because grace, real grace, is unforgettable. Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you something a lot of people don't realize. Silence is one of the most powerful tools you have. Sometimes the most respected women in a man's life weren't the ones who talked the loudest, argued the longest, or explained themselves over and over. No, the woman who stays silent at the right time, she's the one he still thinks about. Because her silence wasn't weakness. It was strength. It was wisdom, and it left an impact words never could. Now look, everybody wants to get their point across. We want to be understood. We want to defend ourselves, make sure we're heard. But there's a difference between speaking to be understood and speaking to be right. Some folks talk just to talk. But a woman who understands the power of silence, she don't waste her energy. She doesn't argue with people committed to misunderstanding her. When the disrespect shows up, when the energy shifts, when the vibe feels off, she doesn't go into battle. She goes quiet. And when she does, oh, that silence is loud. It makes a man stop and think. It makes him uncomfortable because now he's left alone with his own words, his own choices, and the sound of her absence. That's when it hits. That's when he starts remembering everything she didn't say, because silence isn't empty. It's full of meaning, full of emotion, full of message. See, fellas respect a woman who knows how to be still, who knows when to walk away without a fight, who knows when to keep her dignity intact instead of proving a point. That kind of woman, she ain't trying to win the argument. She's trying to protect her peace. And that peace, that's priceless. A man sees that and realizes, I can't play with her like I can with others. She values herself too much. I've seen women argue for hours trying to make a man understand why his behavior hurt them. And I've seen others just fall back. No yelling, no paragraphs, just distance, just silence. And let me tell you something, it's the second type of woman who leaves the deepest mark. Because when she goes quiet, it forces him to hear everything he ignored when she was talking. Let's be real, some men don't listen until the woman they thought would never leave goes silent. That silence becomes a mirror. It reflects everything. And if he's a real man, that silence humbles him, makes him realize what he had, makes him rethink how he treated her. It's not about playing games. It's about letting your absence do what your presence couldn't. It's something about a woman who doesn't chase closure, who doesn't beg for clarity, who doesn't try to convince somebody to love her right. She just stops talking. She removes herself. That speaks volumes. And that volume hits different. A man can ignore your words. He can argue back, deflect, deny, but your silence, he can't argue with that. It's a whole different kind of power. And let me say this, silence is not bitterness. It's not revenge. It's not weakness. It's control. It's emotional maturity. It's knowing that peace is more valuable than being right. And when a woman chooses peace over petty, respect multiplies. Because it takes real strength to shut your mouth when you could have gone off. It takes discipline to stay calm when your heart's on fire, and that kind of self-control, that's unforgettable. So when a man experiences a woman who uses silence as strength, he don't forget her. He remembers the way she carried herself, the way she didn't stoop to chaos, the way she respected herself enough to walk away quietly instead of causing a scene. That leaves a mark. And that mark, that's where the respect starts to multiply. Because silence, used right, isn't the absence of power. It's the proof of it. Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you something that never goes out of style: self-respect. I don't care what year it is, how modern relationships get, or how fast the world moves. A woman who respects herself, she will always be unforgettable. You hear me? Always. Because self-respect is like a force field. It surrounds her. It speaks before she even opens her mouth. It tells people, this woman is not to be played with. When a woman respects herself, it shows in everything she does. It shows in how she dresses, how she talks, how she carries herself, and especially how she lets others treat her. She doesn't need to scream that she's valuable. She walks like she knows it. She talks like she believes it. And the way she moves through this world tells everybody, you better come correct. That's magnetic. That draws people in. And most importantly, it commands honor from a man. See, some women are out here doing the most to get attention, begging for texts back, chasing people who only want her when it's convenient, settling for bare minimum just to have somebody. But a woman with self-respect, she ain't doing all that. She doesn't chase, she chooses. She doesn't accept crumbs because she knows she deserves a whole damn table. And when she stands on that truth, a man feels it. Even the wrong ones feel it. They might not admit it, but trust me, they know she's different. Now here's the thing. Self-respect is not about being loud or acting better than anyone. It's not pride. It's not arrogance. It's not, I don't need no man. No. It's simply about standards. It's about saying, I know what I deserve. I know what I'm worth, and I'm not settling for anything less, even if that means I stand alone. That takes courage. That takes strength. And let me tell you something. Real men respect that. Real men honor that. You ever see a man who thought he could play a woman, but then she stood up for herself? She didn't fight. She didn't beg. She didn't try to guilt trip him. She just left with her head high. You ever watch a man's face after that? He might not say it out loud, but something hits him. That's the moment he realizes, I didn't just lose a woman, I lost a queen. Because self-respect leaves an imprint on a man's soul. A woman who respects herself doesn't engage in petty battles. She doesn't involve herself in drama. She's too focused on her growth, her peace, and her future. That's the kind of energy that makes a man level up. That's the kind of woman he can't lie to. He can't waste her time. He knows if he comes wrong, she'll be gone before he even realizes what happened. Not because she's whole. And that wholeness, that's what makes her magnetic. Everybody wants to be around someone who knows who they are. A woman with self-respect doesn't beg for love, she attracts it. Because people are drawn to confidence, to strength, to someone who refuses to settle for anything less than what they know they deserve. Let me be real with you. When a woman carries herself like this, it's not always easy. People will test her. Men will try to see if she really means what she says. But every time she chooses herself over nonsense, every time she says no when it's easier to say yes, every time she walks away from disrespect, she becomes stronger. And that strength, it earns her more than attention. It earns her respect, real, lasting, deep respect. So yes, self-respect is magnetic. It pulls the right energy towards you and pushes the wrong energy out. It sets the tone for how people treat you. And when a man comes across a woman like that, he doesn't just want her, he honors her because she taught him exactly how. Ladies and gentlemen, let me make something real clear. There's power in a woman who can walk away. And I'm not talking about walking away in anger or bitterness or to make a scene. I'm talking about that quiet, strong, don't look back kind of walk away. That walk that says, I gave you a chance, I showed you love, but you didn't honor it, so I'm done. That kind of woman teaches a lesson no man ever forgets. You see, people think the loudest reaction gets the message across, but sometimes it's the exit that speaks the loudest. A woman who refuses to stay where she is disrespected shows the highest form of self-love. And a man might not realize it right away. He might even act like he doesn't care at first, but give it time, that silence, that distance, that absence, it starts talking. Loud, real loud. When a woman finally gets tired of being taken for granted, of having to remind someone of her worth, of trying to fix what she didn't break, and she decides to leave, not with drama, but with dignity, that's when the lesson starts. That's when the man begins to replay everything she ever said. That's when he starts to see everything she used to do. That's when he notices all the small things he never appreciated. But by then, she's already gone. And let me tell you, a woman like that doesn't leave because she stopped loving you. She leaves because she started loving herself more. She realizes that peace is better than being constantly disrespected. She realizes that being alone is not the worst thing. Staying where you're not valued is. And when she reaches that point, she doesn't scream. She doesn't beg. She simply walks. Now let me talk to the fellas for a second. When a woman gives you her heart, her time, her trust, and you treat it like it's nothing, you're playing yourself. Because a good woman don't stay where she's constantly questioning her worth.